Namaste, Galactic Family. Welcome to a healing for the divided states of America. And yes, I did just say divided, as I'm offering a healing opportunity to bring forth unity consciousness and to tune the land of opportunity into some of those higher vibrations and perceptions that it ultimately and fundamentally originally represented at the time of the Declaration of Independence, or at least at a recognition point within the timeline of the American history that these unity codes were rebirthed or resurrected into the fundamental encoding of the landmass. Okay, along the 13 original colonies, along that 13 original 0-point field. Okay, there was a time merge at this time in history where the United States of America were united at one point. We were united at one point within the states, okay, not within the history of the manifestation of the states, essentially how we got there. Yes, there was lots of division, but ultimately the states were founded on a division of unification. I want to offer a healing this 4th of July. I want to be able to bring some higher vibrations and perception, but not first without disseminating some of the shadow, right? You know how it goes. So come on in, Galactic Family. Welcome, check in. How is everyone? Happy 4th of July, whatever that means to you. If you're American or not, much of our galactic family is from all over the world. So I just want to welcome our galactic international family. If you resonate with this message today, well then thank you for viewing the United States from an outside perspective, however you connect with this message today. But this message today will be delivered from an insider perspective, someone who is living here within the country, someone who is on an energetic level, feeling the fundamental principles encoded within the landmass. And so I'm going to offer some of my perception today. And I love you guys so much. I know not everyone is going to agree with me. Not everybody usually does agree with me. I do usually throw up some controversial type perceptions within the cosmic community, within the galactic community, within the enlightened community. And so I hope to just keep doing that. I feel sometimes like a rebel Jane, a rebel warrior when it comes to bringing forth some perceptions and much needed perspective, I feel, overall of where current energies are. And no celebrating for me this 4th of July. I've been deep within meditation, deep with focusing on healing the collective American shadow, as it does not feel right to celebrate at this time given the state of our country. Okay, and I know that many of you are feeling a sense of pride in your country today. You're feeling a sense in wanting to celebrate. You're wanting to be expansive and accelerative with your American glory, but I do know that there are many within the enlightened community at this time, whether you reside here in the States or not, because a lot of these wounds are collectively bleeding into the global dynamicism of the American consciousness. And so I know many globally, at least within the enlightened community, are feeling the way that I'm feeling at this time. Those of you who are the deep truth seekers, who are the rabbit hole deep divers, the ones who feel into the innermost core, my Shalas, my GCs, my galactic centers, my Hydarians, my centaurs, where you at, right? Some of you may be saying, celebrating is good. It will lift the vibration. Maybe take the mind off some things for a bit, right? That's true. It will do those things, and there's nothing wrong with doing those things if you're celebrating today. Happy 4th. But if you're joining me here today, then you were called to this for a reason. You were called to this message for a resonant reason. whether that was to align with the deeper wisdom within this message today, or whether that was to expand your awareness into other multidimensional collective fields that are running, or is to essentially disresonate and disharmonize, disseminate and disintegrate your field and shake things up a little bit because it's going against the grain, or the current in which way you were swimming before, so to speak. But I hope that this message is received in peace. I hope that this message is received in full unification. But yes, we are going to be talking about this American shadow, okay, and the problems that are still playing out at hand. And even though it's the 4th of July and it's that time of the year that's the representation of the 4th of July from 1776, signing the Declaration of Independence, even though it's this time, yes, we can take this time to celebrate, but there's like I said, there's a huge portion of the collective that are feeling a heavy duty to focus on the conception of our united division for greater healing, because this is a really big deal at this time. Healing is highly needed and necessary within the United States. We must feel deep into the root of the problem systemically, and acknowledge all sides, all truths, because all are correct in one perception or another. There is no perception that is higher than the other. These are battles of ideologies and battles of the sciences of ideologies. And so therefore, we must come to be universally minded, to understand and to transcend. And we must remain in these higher perceptions of consciousness to take on these problems. We must take these things on as our responsibilities, for we all conduct and have came in this world to manipulate energy. You can quote that off of Dolores Cannon. Okay, I said this earlier to a friend, that we came in to manipulate energy. To what degree that we manipulate that energy is up to the higher universal monad laws in which we attain to as a soul group, and also as a hive intelligence, so to speak, in terms of honeycomb consciousness, or compartmentalization consciousness, so to speak. But we all must take responsibility for how we conduct and manipulate this energy as a country, as a whole. We must acknowledge division. We must acknowledge separation, or we will no longer reign the title of the United States. We will be the divided states. We'll be the united divided states, so to speak, okay? So we must shine this light to heal and acknowledge the detriments. There's a lot of anger right now. There's a lot of deflection. There's a lot of shame that many empaths, indigos, starseeds might be innately taking on. Is this shame, this shadow shame, this rejection, this deep spiral that seems to be coercing the psyche of the American collective. And so we must start acknowledging our mistakes as a whole, right? We must start acknowledging costly turns, acknowledging the consequences from the cause and effects of our decisions, and being able to identify ourselves amongst other nations, right? We must realize that we are not separate from other nations, even though we are separated by sea. We might be separated by invisible borders. We might be separated by constructs that man has built. But we are not separate. And so we have to take the learnings and the wisdoms from what is working other places, what's not working, and we have to unify information, and we have to put aside our differences. Okay, so we have to learn from these things, and that way we can apply wisdom to energy manipulation, which is what we came here to do, right? But release the strongholds on power gain and power reign, so to speak. And that's what we're working through with this red candle here. That's what we're working through our foundation, is because if you don't respect these delicate balances, the foundation will fall apart. These are delicate dances within the infrastructures of quantum mechanics and what upholds the physical dimensions of matter. These are all coming back down to the subatomic structures. And therefore, we have to acknowledge these detrimental ripples within the infrastructure. Okay, so instead of buying explosives today and eating a cheeseburger or a hot dog, or intoxifying yourself, thank you for being here with me, because this means that you have ultimately tuned into your higher consciousness and you haven't given in to a lot of these falsehoods. You haven't given in to a lot of these smoke screens. You haven't given in to a lot of these corruptions, because you are aligning with spirit today, and that's beautiful. So thank you. Namaste for being here again, family. I love you so much. I feel going within today is what may serve the collective in a greater magnitude of a ripple effect for peace efforts and energetic damage control. This is coming strong through Lyran energies, Sirian energies right now. This is bio-repairing. This is bio-regeneration is what's coming through this encoding through this video here. Also, explosions have begun to pop off all around me. So if you hear that right now, you'll hear fireworks starting to go. They might be very, very faint, but you will hear that come through this video. But yes, come on in. If you're in alignment with me, you may be feeling less enthusiastic about this holiday, particularly this year of 2020, the year of American justice, social, and cultural reform. Okay, highly transformational. We are going through the purification of fire. This came through the Easter Islands. This came through the fire gods, Agni, Sekhmet, solar deity, okay? The main underlying deity of the American spirit is the solar deity. That is the deity on all generational scales and civilizational scales of the solar deity has come through this land, and this land is represented by that. So it's very, very accelerative, electrical, patriarchal, underlying energy. That is the foundation to this energy, and I'm going to go more into that. But to be honest with you, I am ultimately ready for a technocracy, and let me explain to you guys why. Okay, under a technocracy, it means to elect your government officials based upon their technological skills or their technological trade. Okay, so what did they go to educate for? What did they go to? And typically you would put a leader such as an engineer, your scientists, your doctors. This is what you would put at the head of your government to bail a country out of crisis. Okay, so you put specific people in power that have the actual technological skills to solve a falling government, a falling policy, a falling democracy. Okay, so a technocracy would mean to elect government officials and leaders based upon their competency, skills, qualifications, technology skills, basically putting our brightest minds at the forefront of our leadership. And so this is the best option to solve our nation's problems and pull that falling democracy out of the crisis. It's not money. It's not fixed and rigged elections where Facebook can technically sway political parties through fixed ads targeting fluoridated and genetically modified voters and biohacked electronic ballot manipulation. So the entire thing is rigged. The entire infrastructure is rigged. Okay, so yes, your vote counts, but there are higher structures of pre-designed facets that control the outcomes, and control the calculations, and control the timing, that control every manipulative aspect of that energy, right? Because it's designed to manipulate the energy in whatever mechanical way that this American shadow can manipulate the 3D. It does, and it will, okay? And this is coming through a lot of different race lines that are all at war with each other, and I've talked about this in several different videos. It's all playing out here in the melting pot. So every race lineage on the planet gets a chink in the chain, so to speak, in terms of America. This is their playground, okay? They're experimenting here, so to speak. So I say we throw out as an idea, so please don't jump all over me on this, but I say we throw out as an idea, throw out the electorals and promote our leaders from within through qualification processes, through language. Okay, a leader has to be able to speak, has to know the English language well, and has to understand higher consciousness levels of unification, higher consciousness. We need to elect leaders who are carrying these pre-facets of awareness, and it goes through an evaluation process prior up into that placement into power. Okay, so we throw out this electoral process and replace it with a qualification process through hard work, proving yourself over the years, through stability and dedication, good reputation, good standing, good moral standing. So the technocrats may be providing higher sustainable solutions to national problems. Another suggestion would be one-party unification, and I know you're probably thinking immediately communism, but we have to look at the results, the cause and effect, the past, what's worked and what hasn't worked, and we have to be adaptable to solutions, right? Adaptable to change. The countries that are not able to adapt and change are the countries that typically degrade and fall behind and fall apart. So, like I said, you might immediately think communism, but with a two-party system, you immediately bring division and chaos. You bring a black or a white. Okay, you don't bring adaptability, you bring rigidness and polarity. And this, therefore, division breeds into chaos. So ultimately, you need a one unification party system, or you at least need a third party system to reunite unifications and come back into that 0 point field. Back when we had the 13 original colonies, we were at a 0 point field at this point in time. So I know many of you clearly already have a strong sense of carrying wisdom far beyond the typical red and blue division discussion of holidays. You are seeing things universally through party lines. You may be also seeing things down to a quantum transduction of American purity, the representation of this color frequency, okay? Red, white, and blue, my candles here. That's where I'm at. I'm at the raw American spirit, the unbridled, embodied sense of national freedom, disguised at this time as the golden horse. So let's strip this down a little bit, because this unbridled sacrifice of all nations involved, and I'm also including indigenous in this, to a various degree, have birthed its fallen child. The United States fallen child is the golden horse. The fallen child, which can often represent pursuing a path of greed, disobedience, and celebrating falsehood. Falsehood meaning celebrating the absence of truth or accuracy, an art and a practice of telling a lie. Tactics of smoke screens and downright just refusing to acknowledge something as if it doesn't even exist. Some of these arts and practices are highly achieved tactics within the American shadow. Shadow realities are simultaneously running to the 3D currents and is mostly subconscious. It's really a big step when one comes into shadow work in their healing process and their consciousness evolution and their ascension process. It's a big, big step, because it means they're ready to ultimately uphold and face the darkness within themselves. right? They're ready to take a look at it. They're ready to be able to integrate it into their consciousness state, into their higher consciousness state. Therefore holding them accountable and responsibility for every karmatic responsibility and action that they take. That's what it brings forth, is karmatic understanding and your part in that. That's why so many ascended beings have immediate karmatic return, because you cannot vibrate untruths in the 5D. You cannot even vibrate untruths in the 4D. It's an immediate mirror and an immediate universal return. Okay, so all of these American shadows realities are simultaneously running to the 3D currents. They're siphoning off at gate sites into the phantom matrix, and they're also now blocking universal current stargate systems at this time. Most of the universal stargate locations are energetically blocked at this time. Even self-proclaimed awakened beings haven't done shadow work and can't and won't even fathom it for some time in their process. So most American collectives, okay, and when I say American collectives, I'm speaking of American political parties, I'm speaking of American political agendas, I'm speaking of American political funded movements, all of the things that fall under the things that bring social justice reform. So most American collectives and government political leaders are unconsciously navigating American shadow and working in their shadow with no awareness to this. This is how we can constantly have the dark forces tearing apart and dividing more of the collective fields of intelligence. One is simply not aware of their involvement to the deeper state of the American shadow work. Agent Smiths don't know they're Agent Smiths. Zetas don't know they're Zetas. Cyborgs don't know they're cyborgs. Okay, the golden horses are ushering in the next degradation on the biopsych when forced to believe falsehoods. This spirals into delusions, fallacy, hallucinations, illusions, misbeliefs, misconceptions, myths and falsities, and it's a descending trap of chaos that further feeds the underworlds of the shadow collective and the underworlds of the fallen matrices. So these are deeper levels within the fallen worlds. Okay. Now the raw American spirit is also ignited through a very substantial Stargate signet, the honoring of Aquila, which is coming up a lot right now. Okay, you may be seeing eagle symbolism everywhere. Also the osprey. The osprey is also coming up a lot too. These are American emblems. The eagle, okay, the eagle brings down the fire from the sky and the solar deity, which is the fundamental essence of the American spirit, the solar deity, okay? Aquila is like the communications to the solar deity and brings the thunderbolt within the country, showing power and representing the depth of masculine sovereignty and strength. The American solar gods brought forth by the indigenous prior to European colonization, prior to the 4th of July in 1776. The solar gods have always supported this land, the identity of the American spirit. America meaning home ruler. America means home ruler, where we rule this home through the lightning bolt of Zeus. But this is also patriarchal ruled land. This land sides with patriarchal allies such as Russia, Israel, and Egypt, the patriarchal ruling powers that be. So we light these candles today to bring the purification, bring the healing, bring the unification and aligned change that we need as a country. I'd like for you to take away from this a great clearing to remove the national blockages and dark cloud settling over the divided states. So check here, family. I have my red candle, my white candle, my blue candle. White is for the purity for the full moon. This is a full moon release. We are releasing these blockages. We are releasing the collective American shadow. And we are eclipsing through a lunar eclipse, the releasing of the divided states of America. We have the blue candle for the throat chakra and for the communication and the repairing of languages, for the repairing of our mental capacity to send and receive forms of languages without the crossed spears. Strong verbal, emotional, spiritual, and collective mind patterns and recognition of collective behaviors is necessary, and collective higher mind capacities and positive energy. Red for the American's love of money, the love of making things happen in the material world, running businesses, electing businessmen as our political leaders, and worldly representatives of our nation. We love money so much, we allow it to define us in our national presentation to the rest of the world. The American spirit is the capitalist's heart. It beats to the red drum. It beats to the foundation. It beats to the Muladhara, where we focus our intention into the foundation. This is where we grow. Now, I have a powerful message today, and regardless of how I may sound, this message, I do not ask you to feel any pity for me. I do not want you to feel sad for me. I do not want you to try and console me, because I don't want that or need that from anyone. I just need you to hear these truths I speak, and for you to please realize the state that our country is in. Okay? We are at the brink of a major collapse of all systems in the states. We are a divided, falling democracy, and our division is bleeding into the rest of the world. Our once allies see us as an inefficient, divided, inequipped to handle worldly setbacks. Our worldly reputation has been denied access, and the global leaders of power and efficiency is quickly being handed over to China. The states that are truly divided indeed. Divided meaning separated off into many different groups that continuously disagree or cause to disagree. The static electrical momentum that drives the social, economic, and cultural revolutions. It is a force that moves things apart. A force that exposes weakened, failing systems. A force that initiated September 11th, 2001 during the coordinated terrorist attacks and began to roll like a ball, gaining momentum downhill into the economic collapse of 2008. A force that's been sending a very clear message to the world of where thrones of power are being compared in stability, efficiency, adaptability, and maturity. Where the infrastructure and foundation are weak, the added pressure and stress will expose the throne's incapability to keep up with exceeding powerhouses. Here is where the rolling ball gains its most momentum. These national detriments sending messages to the rest of the world. We must recognize the division of our country. What energies we as a nation, as an American collective, as an American light, and as an American shadow, what we are manifesting from. What is the core vibration that the entire system is manifesting from? America is drowning in corruption, denial of leadership, smoke screens, inorganic blue light filtration, and board controllers and digital predators. As our nation is in an unprecedented time, with the Black Lives Matter movements, riots, Antifa, domestic terrorism, coronavirus numbers spiking to the highest numbers out of any country in the world this far, overriding China's numbers, far exceeding China and all of the world, really. The last I read a report, it said 2.7 million Americans have contracted the virus. Now, most of that is due to the continuation in the systemic corruption within the testing. Some states lying on numbers recorded, most officials, Agent Smiths and cyborgs coerced into a collective machine mind reporting to Borgs that control the global satellite tracing and tracking domains. And now we have all Americans banned indefinitely from international travel into European countries, banned from Australia, banned from Mexico, banned from Canada, all international flights suspended from the States. Americans being forced to take a timeout in our own corner, where we get to sit and we get to reflect in the ways in which we've handled ourselves in the time of crisis. Sit and reflect on the fact that we are now banned from the one country that we were going to build a wall to keep out. Now that country, Mexico, has banned the US. Think of the irony. Think of the karma. Exiting the Paris Agreement. Okay? Well, Paris has decided that they no longer serve us. As it seems the rest of the world has decided to not take a risk in letting Americans into their countries. We are clearly too reckless, too dangerous in their eyes. Only Egypt at this point will risk it with us, but you can't even get there without going through Europe. So you will be blocked at the gates. You will be blocked at the stargates. The stargate portals are blocked. Several small businesses and schools are still not open and unsure about the fate of their future. California churches are now banning the act of singing. Today is the 4th of July, a very important day for Americans. A very important day that we pull our heads out of our ass and look around to the greater healing that is needed in our country. 4th of July, 1776 was the day we signed and validated the Declaration of Independence by Congress that absolved our allegiance to the British Crown, where the 13 original colonies claimed their independence from England. So some of you may be feeling a celebration today and pride for your country. And there is nothing wrong with that, but we must restore our international standing with the world. We have to unite with other peaceful countries and form leagues of friendships to uphold the states during war efforts and diplomacy with foreign affairs. Our foreign integrity is of the utmost highest importance. Isolation only further makes us a target for global warfare. And with Mars going into Aries for the next 6 months, we may see a catalyst-type probabilities as the planet of war enters the astrological sign of war, all the way through January 2021. So I ask the higher powers of Aquila to soothe the infant child, the golden horse. Teach him the appropriate lessons and scold his manner in which he approaches growth and refine his heart into wisdom. I ask the solar deities to unify the divided hearts and minds of the unbridled American spirit and bring peace and reform to this nation. I ask healing to wash upon this nation and provide a level of sustainability equivalent to powers of the righteous leaders of the golden rules of preservation. Know the laws of cause and effect. Know not only what previous leaders did, but know also what they didn't do, because this sometimes is more important than what they actually did. Know the use of harmonious language and how to use it to bring unity to the divided. Acknowledge the divided. Acknowledge all points of view and bring introspection back to the original 13 colonies, back to the 0-point field. Know our history so we do not repeat our mistakes. I ask healing to wash upon the hearts of the American spirit and release these blockages and spiritual passageways. I ask this healing to wash upon the hearts through the full moon release. I ask that the root chakra and the blue chakra, the throat chakra, be replenished and removed of blockages as well. I ask the white light to come through and cleanse and clear. all tonal lines, all axial lines, and all feminine distortive lines that are running through the United States. Please cleanse and clear and heal these lines. So thank you so much for being here with me today for this Divided States of America healing. And I love you all so much. I hope that this resonates. And namaste. May peace be with you.